Hey, it's Lou, and here's the thing. If money doesn't buy you happiness, maybe that's because you're spending it the wrong way. A growing body of academic literature reveals that materialism, i.e., spending your disposable income on physical items, negatively impacts well-being. On the other hand, research shows that discretionary money spent on experiences like travel and eating out boost happiness in a more long-lasting way. They help us make social connections and build our personal identity. In other words, and I'm quoting two professors here, the good life may be better lived by doing things than by having things. This is an insight into human psychology that seems to resonate with millennials in particular, who are driving the growth of the so-called experience economy. Not only does this major shift in consumer culture promote personal well-being, it also has the potential to improve society, to make us all a bit more generous, creative, and empathetic. Millennials, who are finally emerging from the economic doldrums of a recession perfectly timed for the start of their careers, are inclined to splurge on experiences rather than material goods. A survey from 2014 found that 78% of millennials would choose to spend money on a desirable experience or event over buying something desirable. And in the US, as millennials have become the largest generation, expenditures on experience-related services have grown nearly 4 times faster than expenditures on goods in recent years. That's part of the reason why we're seeing all these retail outlets become experiences. Some malls have roller coasters. It's not unusual to see live music at shopping centers. The stores in them sometimes serve wine or coffee. There's an ever-increasing number of music festivals, foodie events, and tastings of all sorts. It turns out this trend aligns with what social science tells us is the best way to purchase happiness. Spoiler alert, it's not buying things, because every time you purchase a material good, something like a gadget or a piece of jewelry, you're stepping on a hedonic treadmill. That is, in order to maintain that jolt of happiness you initially get from retail therapy, you have to continually get new stuff to replace the possessions you inevitably fall out of love with. And because of something academics call upward shifts of aspiration, your taste tends to get more expensive over time. So you're using ever-increasing resources to temporarily fill a need that will soon reappear. This is something I've been thinking about as I pack for my upcoming move. Again and again, I come across shit that I was super excited about when I bought, but now I'm eager to get rid of. Conversely, as I take photographs off the wall, I have these really pleasant trips down memory lane. In other words, I've grown sour about my stuff, but have grown nostalgic and positive about my experiences. This is consistent with academic research. In a study titled To Do or To Have, That Is the Question, 2 authors present a series of surveys and experiments and conclude, quote, the experience of remembering experiential purchases makes people happier than the experience of remembering material purchases. In addition, the authors found that people mentally revisit their experiential purchases more often than their material purchases. Kumar, professor of marketing psychology at the University of Texas at Austin, explained to me that humans have a knack for habituating to our status quos, i.e., we adjust to our surroundings and circumstances. That's super useful when we lose a limb and are able to persevere, but when it comes to our possessions, that tendency to habituate means that the material purchases that initially brought us joy quickly lose their luster. They become ordinary and unspecial. They fade into the background, slowly deteriorating and becoming obsolete. But when it comes to experiences we bought, like concert tickets, the opposite frequently happens. In line with something called the rosy view hypothesis, we have a tendency to mentally reframe our past experiences and put them in a more positive light than they actually were. The best elements become prominent in our memory while the inconveniences slip away. We remember the awesome encore at the concert, but we forget the tall guy blocking our view of the stage or the long lines for the bathroom. In fact, Kumar told me we sometimes even look back at the fiascos as if they were blessings in disguise. Yeah, it rained our entire trip to the beach, but we had so much fun bonding over board games. This dovetails into another big advantage experiential purchases have over material purchases: story value. That is, our experiences are great fodder for conversation, but the items we buy, not so much. And since socialization is an important psychological need, that engagement, those conversations, boost our well-being. In addition, a 2017 report from consulting firm McKinsey points out that experiences give us the chance to accrue, quote, the ultimate social currency for millions of Americans, especially millennials. Of course, they're talking about shareable photographs that generate likes on social media. Some businesses, like the Owl Cafe in Japan, seem to exist mostly because they create great photo opportunities. Consider another personal anecdote. I bought new chairs for my new house. I showed a picture of them to colleagues. Oh, cool, nice, end of conversation. But when my editor Michelle came back from her vacation to Asia with photos to share, we had a much longer and more engaging chat about that. Not only was she able to relive a bit of her trip by talking about it, even laugh at a dangerous hike that was terrifying at the time, but we all took turns reminiscing about our own travel adventures. In other words, her experience even brought value to us, a win-win. Plus, she had something to post on Instagram. Now, as I've discussed in a previous piece, our friends' photos on social media often present an idealized version of their lives, and they make us feel like we're missing out. That could lead to depression. Indeed, comparison is often the thief of joy. But Kumar told me that the urge to keep up with the Joneses is less pronounced when it comes to experiences. He explained that we tend to see other people's trips as unique, as suiting their own specific taste. I mean, there are elements of Michelle's trip that are simply not for me. But if Michelle got a fancier phone than mine, then, according to research, I'll be more inclined to have that bitter resentment that makes me feel shitty about my inferior model. We can line up the specs, and there would be undeniable proof that her phone is measurably, objectively better. Can't do that same side by side when comparing her Asian trip to my European trip, or for that matter, her meal at restaurant A to my meal at restaurant B. And by the way, these trips, these dinners, the concerts we go to, the skydiving, the hikes, whatever, they play a big role in shaping our identity. A friend of mine manages his social calendar around attending Grateful Dead spin-off concerts. So central are the performances to his identity that his Instagram handle is inspired by the band. My brother and I share season tickets to the Yankees and the New York Giants. Not only does that contribute to who we are, massive sports fans, but it's also an integral part of our relationship. So, in summary, when we use our money to pay for experiences rather than objects, we get a lot of juice out of it. We get to tell stories, we bond with people, we shape our self-identity. In addition, studies show that social connection, which is fostered by experiences, lowers morbidity and mortality. It's related to achievement motivation and academic performance. It enhances our physical and psychological well-being. Moreover, Kumar told me that scientific experiments have shown that people are even more generous towards strangers right after they were asked to recall an experiential purchase. Other research demonstrates that those who travel frequently are more creative. Of course, the big caveat about all this research and all these trends is that your basic needs like shelter, food, and medicine have to be taken care of for any of this to be applicable. As that study I mentioned earlier states, quote, individuals with little or no discretionary income must allocate most of their resources towards the satisfaction of basic needs and may have fewer opportunities to worry about the relative benefits of experiences and possessions in the pursuit of happiness. And granted, poverty and income inequality remained major issues all across the world. But in the grand scheme of history, more of us have the basic needs covered than ever before and therefore have a little extra cash on hand to splurge. How we deploy that money is changing. And if the academics are right, the move towards experiences will make us happier. It might also mean that in the future, our homes will be less cluttered, but our Instagram feeds will be jam-packed. Okay, I'm gonna go live my life.